Good evening. It is 7 p.m. in NYC and 4 p.m. in the Mendocino County out in California. I'm Sam Kimball from Crush Wine Experiences. Thank you so much for joining us for virtual day trip to wine country presented by Citi. We are here for incredibly great wines from Mendocino County. And we're here for a special tasting with Saracina Vineyards, a wonderful winery up in Mendocino. We have not, in 90-something episodes of this show, we have not been to Mendocino County before. So this is special. It's certainly special for me. Mendocino is not as well known as its southern neighbors, Sonoma and Napa, but Mendocino is a magical place. Some people like to say it's like Sonoma County was 20 years ago or more, or even Napa County, Napa Valley 50 years ago. It's a wonderful and a magical place. Mendocino was one of the original counties of California, created in 1850 at the time that California became a state. And it's located on the North Coast. It's a good hour and a half, almost 2 hours north of San Francisco. And it's known for its natural beauty, from the smallest to the tallest of the redwoods. Some great redwoods up there, glass bottom beaches, and the only oceanfront botanical gardens in the USA. It's also noted for its rugged coastline, Mediterranean climate, many acres of great vineyards, and microbreweries and microbrews, liberal views about the use of cannabis, yes, cannabis, and support for its legalization. And the county seat is a little town called Ukiah. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So Mendocino is just under the radar, but not probably for too much longer. There are two primary areas in the county that are amazing and awesome: Anderson Valley and the inland region. And those are the two primary places where the wine growing and the winemaking happens. And the stats are for Mendocino County in terms of, for those of us who love wine, are 85 plus wineries, 12 different AVAs or American viticultural areas. And it's really just a wonderful wine country, only semi-discovered. So for those of you, and I know there are quite a few watching who are fans of food, wine, and getting out to the wine country, if you haven't been, get up to Mendocino. By the way, if you're in the chat, and hello everyone who's logging in, it's great to see all of you. Hit the chat and let us know if you've actually been to Mendocino County in California, to the wine country. I want to say hello to some we've got some newbies and some oldies here. Kasana from Brooklyn, Kathy from North Carolina, Durham, North Carolina, Zebulon, North Carolina. Wow, Chicago. Hey, Susan. Janet, Long Island. Phyllis hasn't been to Mendocino yet. Phyllis, you need to get up there. And Sharon from Ukiah. So you've been there, Sharon. And Myra, oh my goodness, Myra, hello. It's good to see you. Dominican Republic. I think you win the Distance Award tonight. Great to see everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome everybody. Please interrupt us. Please interrupt me and our special guest tonight with any questions, comments that you have. We love to answer those. And you'll see our guest tonight is absolutely spectacular. He's an amazing person with wine knowledge that goes on for miles and miles. And so let's take advantage of his expertise. So definitely hit the chat with any questions and comments as we're going, and we will pick up on those in real time during the session. If you haven't already, hit the chat right now and tell us where you're logging in from. So Saracina Vineyards is in a tiny town called Hopland. And I want to take a look at the map, just Google Maps. Where are we going? And it's this little town called Hopland. Let me show you where we are in the state of California. So we're up a good 90 to 100 miles north of San Francisco. You see that red map pin? That's where Saracina is, in the little town of Hopland. And Hopland is an interesting place. It's the southern gateway. It's as you enter Mendocino County from down south, as you're coming up from San Francisco. It's located on the Russian River. And like I said, about 90 minutes north on drive. The town of Hopland is only about 800 people. And it's really a farming community that is situated in oak-covered coastal foothills. Beautiful area. Let me put up a little bit of background information on Hopland, because it is an unspoiled part of the country. Well, this is actually Mendocino, so you can see all the different 12 wine growing areas there up on the screen. And just beautiful vistas. If you can see in my background here, these are shots from the winery of the vineyards. Hillsides, it's very rugged, rather dramatic terrain. And then we'll talk about this later, but one of the things that fascinates me, and I'll move over a little bit, you can see behind me, the winery has amazing wine caves, like built right into the side of the hill. So very interesting place, and just rich in beauty and heritage is Mendocino County and Hopland as a town. The weather can be extreme. Summertime temperatures get up to 100 degrees. And in the winter, normally they get 40 plus inches of rain just in the winter, which is, the US average is 38 inches, depending on where, no matter where you are, the average is 38 inches of rain per year. So 40 inches of rain in Hopland. Right now they're having a drought in the winter. So, all right, so a couple more things. There's going to be four wines. We're going to taste a Chardonnay, unoaked Chardonnay, a Sauvignon Blanc, a Pinot Noir, and a wonderful deep red blend. Again, the offers on the wines are good through March 15th. I would like to, without further ado, because you don't want to hear me talking, you want to hear him talking, I want to bring in our special guest, Alex McGregor, who is the winemaker at Saracina. Alex, welcome to the broadcast. It is so great having you with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
You're absolutely welcome. It's a privilege. Where in the world are you? Where does this broadcast find you?
I'm in the epicenter of the world, Hopland, California, in the heart of Mendocino County. Stunning here, stunning.
It is stunning. Tell us a little bit about, I'm not as familiar as I would like to be. I'm certainly much more so than I was a month ago with Saracina Vineyards. Tell us, what is the sort of unique, sort of aspects of the winery? What is it that sets this winery apart from others?
The brand was begun by John Fetzer and his wife, Patty Rock, of Fetzer glory, and he really wanted to position us at the same level as Napa or Sonoma to kind of elevate Mendocino County and put us on the map. My current employer, Mark Taub, who happens to be the Wine Enthusiast Person of the Year, bought the property in 2018, and he wants to take it to the next level. So we're poised to put an relatively unknown county on the map in a big way. And one of the things that Mark is, I think what really sets us apart is his appreciation for the fact that I've been here for 20 years, that I know practically every grower in the county, that I've dabbled with many of those grapes, and he's allowed me to do that. And that I'm not constrained by any kind of corporate oversight. He lets me have full reign, and me and the winemaking team. It's a collegiate effort, I should say that. I can't claim to be responsible 100%. I have a team that helps me out that has been with me for 20 years as well. So we're well positioned to really elevate this county into something that many of you have not heard of, but will very, very soon.
Now, Mark is a well-known person in the wine industry, but for people who don't know him, tell us a little bit about Mark. He has interests in other significant entities within the business.
Well, his industry experience is unique, I would say. He's now third generation. His great grandfather was a rectifier and distiller who worked with the Gallows, perhaps during Prohibition, but we're not going to talk about that. But certainly after Prohibition, Mark's father, David Taub, saw an opportunity to create an import company and import fabulous value Italian and Spanish wines, and started doing that in the 70s and 80s, became very successful. So Mark runs a company, Taub Family Selections, that imports everything from Cavit Pinot Grigio to Lafite, and just began getting into the California wine scene about 6 years ago with a brand, a Napa Cabernet brand and a small Russian River Chardonnay brand, and purchased Saracina Vineyards in 2018. This is the first brick and mortar. And I just, and just, I'm gonna qualify this by, not qualify, by saying that he could have purchased anywhere in the world, in Napa or Sonoma or Paso Robles, and looked at many of those locations, and he chose this spot. So I'm patting myself on the back that he chose this site.
Well, that should be a point of pride for you. Now, what are we looking at here? Because I was telling everybody in the introduction, as you heard, it's a unique and rugged and beautiful landscape. And you get that sense from these 4 pictures that are on the screen right now. Well,
also it's biodiverse. We're not, monoculture would be the death of this industry. So biodiversity is something that we champion for many, many years, and Mark is on board with that. So on the upper left, you see olive groves. We make a fair amount of estate grown olive oil. The tasting room where I'm situated right now on the right-hand side, we have a great consumer experience. We love to get people in the property, have them stay in the property. To the lower left, you'll see our wine caves, which are working wine caves. They're narrow, as you can see. There's a lot of, they're why I don't have a gym membership. I get to hump barrels around and pallet jack, but they're ideal, perfect temperature, no heating or cooling. They're the most sustainable way of aging wine or élevage that you can possibly think of in the industry. And on the lower right, those are some funky chairs that I don't recommend that any visitors sit on. That I
that's classic. Oh, look, we have somebody from Ridge Vineyards, Montebello, in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Very cool.
Hello, person from Ridge Vineyards. Nice to have you. That is an august winery and institution as well. So you're also there's a lot of organic farming that you guys do. You really look to take from the land in the most non-interventionist way. Talk a little bit about that, as how it sort of sets the winery apart in terms of its position.
The estate is certified sustainable. We were certified organic, and as we're in a process of replanting, something that Mark has seen the need to do, and plant appropriate varieties on the right soils correctly for a long-term vision. And so we're moving back into organic certification. That's a 3 to 4 year process. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, about 25% of the fruit that we purchase is certified organic. Another 20% is farmed organically but not certified. And then the rest of it is all certified sustainable. So it's something that I personally put a lot of value in stock, and I think it's the only way to farm. Personally.
Right. By the way, you mentioned hospitality and staying or staying near Saracina. I know Leslie, who works with you, just jumped in the chat. There was a question about recommendations on where to stay while in Mendocino County, and Leslie just answered that. So if you're curious, see her chat message and her email address there. A lot of old vines. Mm-hmm. In Mendocino County. Talk to us about old vines. What makes them and the wines they produce so special?
Well, the answer is, for wild vines, is because there's no other way to go. But we have a surfeit of 3rd and 4th generation farmers that are still farming the same plots on properties that in other counties in the state would have been yanked out for both economic reasons and for maybe lack of soul. I shouldn't say that, probably. That sounds a little bit condescending, but we have a lot of farmers that really champion. We're going to discuss, one of the wines is really, this is germane when we talk about the Lona Sauvignon Blanc, but we have a lot of turn of the century, Carignan, Grenache, Petit Syrah, Sauvignon Blanc, and why old vines? They're almost self-farming. They're like it's hard to describe, but they're like your grandparents, where don't need to be schooled any longer. They kind of take care of themselves for the most part, and they yield less. So you automatically have an inherent concentration of fruit. Instead of getting 5 tons an acre, you might get 1 or 2. Just the same as you on a tomato vine that's loaded with fruit, no sugar, no flavor, no nothing. A tomato vine that's farmed correctly with a few tomatoes on it, and the concentration of flavor is extraordinary. It's exactly the same analogous to grapevines. They can be weaned off of water also, so we can dry farm them, which we are doing quite a bit of. So they're unique and they're beautiful. Bottom line.
Question: you mentioned different types of grapes. What are the top 3 varietals that you grow?
That we grow, we're sort of off the beaten trail. So we grow some Zinfandel, Alicante Boucher, Petite Syrah. We have a new block of Bordeaux varietals and Grenache in the ground. We have Sauvignon Blanc and a dedicated Chardonnay block coming online. As far as the county goes, we're probably a little bit more mainstream. There's a fair amount of Chardonnay and a fair amount of Cabernet Sauvignon still grown. There's still a bit of Merlot out there, but what we're really becoming known for are these smaller pieces of historic old vine, dry farmed Grenache, Carignan, Syrah, Petite Syrah, as I mentioned, Zin, especially tons of Zinfandel, that's old vine.
Myra's got a question. California's had some tough times over the last few years between the fires and the droughts. How has Mendocino been affected by that?
Drought to be determined. Where, as I said, we have a lot of the fruit that I purchase is dry farmed. So those vines have been bred and raised to tolerate drought conditions better than most. On the property, we have adequate water to irrigate. If we were to irrigate, our plan is to try and either deficit irrigate, which means be really, really diligent and irrigate very lightly, or in the case of a block we just planted of Alicante Boucher and Zin, to dry farm it entirely. So I think we're more positioned just because of how we've planted and how we're planning to be able to withstand these situations. Fire is another story. This is uncharted territory. Something broke. Haven't got a bulletproof silver bullet answer for you, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, and I guess, the fires have they made it up as far as you?
Yeah, not for many. 2008 was horrible. We made no red wine in 2008. We didn't experience the same kind of drama that in 18 and 17 and 20 that other counties to the south had.
Yeah, no, it was extreme.
We made great wines.
It was extreme in Sonoma and Napa for sure.
Huge. It was huge. Yeah.
In terms of, you mentioned sustainable, how much of the production, is it 100%? It falls into that CSWA?
On the property, yes, we're 100% CSWA certified, and the winery is as well.
Yeah, got it. I know one question I had, this was sort of a trivia thing, because I've heard about it, but I don't really know the provenance. But up north of you or nearby is the Emerald Triangle. What is the Emerald Triangle?
The Emerald Triangle is the epicenter of high quality cannabis grown in California, beginning in the mid 60s.
Yeah.
And it's Trinity, Humboldt, and Mendocino counties. It's the OG for great cannabis production. In fact, I'll provide a link later, and perhaps Leslie can. A very good friend of mine who farms some cannabis on the Greenfield Ranch, which is the epicenter of high-end cannabis farming in the country. She and her friends have come out with a movie which is not previewing, it's coming out on Stars on March the 1st. It's called Lady Bud, and it documents the history of women farming cannabis on the Greenfield Ranch. It's super interesting.
Very cool.
I recommend.
Drew has a question. I'm gonna turn Drew's mic on. Drew, go ahead.
Hey there. Yeah, I just heard your great question about the Emerald Triangle. I'm a cannabis farmer up here and a wine connoisseur as well, and really have been enjoying the Saracina wines over the years. And yeah, it's neat that the two crops kind of can coincide in terms of quality and terroir, and we're working
far.
on that up here in Humboldt County. I'm part of a cooperative of small cannabis farmers up here. So we all love wine and we all love cannabis, and we do it all really well.
Yeah, perfect.
Really interesting. Thanks, Drew. All right, so so I guess we should start taking a look at these wines. I've got them poured. I'm ready. We're starting, at least for me, slightly counterintuitively, because we're starting with a Chardonnay, but that's because it's unoaked and it's very, very light and refreshing. Tell us a little bit about this 2020 unoaked Chardonnay. I'll put up in a moment a screen with the picture of the bottle and some information about it, but this is a very interesting wine.
Excuse me. We've been making unoaked Chardonnay for almost a dozen years, so it has become sort of a flavor du jour. It's become a little bit more popularized as people drift away from heavy oak influence in Chardonnays and tons of malolactic fermentation, which is that buttery note that you get that some people like quite a bit. We felt like our inland Chardonnay fruit was more appropriate for a more steely, naked, stone fruit expression of Chardonnay without those other adornments. We began in 2010, as I suggested, and we've had some great success with it. So what you're not going to find is a bunch of new wood or buttery notes. What you will find is a really pure expression of the subtle fruits of Chardonnay. So as I said, stone fruit, pear, Granny Smith apple. It's fermented in stainless steel, very, very cold, and it retains its acidity. So it's pretty snappy and pretty crisp and crunchy. It's delicious. It's a 2-glass wine for me.
Yeah, I just put it up on the screen. This was a really delightful surprise, and I'm used to the slightly heavier, slightly even in stainless steel fermented Chardonnay, a little bit more of that sort of larger body, and this is so light. What's your favorite? And it's refreshing. It's got that nice acidity. What's your favorite food to pair with this, Alex?
I think, well, my absolute favorite food with it is scallops with lemon zest, a beurre blanc. Not to be snobby, but this is sunset wine. You can drink this on its own. It's got enough depth and sophistication and brightness to really enjoy it just as a glass on its own. But with food, I would drift into poultry, roast chicken, something simple and not overpowering.
I love your scallops idea. I mean, that's to me is a huge winner. I would do with a little bit of that little lemon seasoning, maybe even some freshly roasted corn kernels with the scallops.
And some fat, butter and cream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're both watching our weight, Sam.
Well, exactly. So I agree with Alicia. I love when the California wineries do unoaked Chardonnay. Too many butter bombs out there.
There's a time and a place for those wines, and we felt like it wasn't for us now. And
go ahead, Alex.
No, it's an appropriate expression of the fruit that we grow on the property. So.
Yeah, and by the way, this one, as it's working in the glass, I lightly chilled it. I probably should have chilled it a little bit more than lightly, but it's just as it's working in the glass, it's warming up a little bit. It's just getting better by the moment. Super delicious.
This wine will, with the natural acidity that's in this wine, it'll age for sure. The 2017, I think, is drinking very well. The 18 is drinking perfectly well. So it's really a 2-year wine. Part of that is a function of, and none of you are probably old enough to remember out there, but this property is the original Sundial Ranch. There was a wine that the Fetzers made. The Fetzers made this wine 30 years ago. They got up to 1.5 million cases of it.
Wow.
And it was the original no oak, no mallow Chardonnay, not because it was by design, because they had no money. I think that was John's story anyway. But the plant material are the same vines that was making that wine 30 years ago. They were planted in 79, 80, 81. So they're not ancient, but there's some pedigree to them. We get 2.5 to 3 tons an acre off of them in a good year. So there's concentration of fruit that belies the light bodiedness of the wine.
Phyllis was asking about the wine caves. Do those wine caves go all the way back to the Fetzer time?
No, they were built in they were completed in 2005. Yeah,
Got
they
it.
were relatively new.
And is this Chardonnay unfiltered or unfined, or what's the story?
It's not fined, and it's filtered prior to bottling. It rests in the bottling tank for 3 months on lees, and then it goes through the line and through a filter into bottle. So
Yeah, I mean, the acidity, the balance and the acidity are perfect in this wine.
thank you. Some of the wines are filtered where necessary, unfiltered and unfined. We'll talk about that as we're going to taste different versions of what we have.
Explain for everybody unfined, and what does that mean in the winemaking process?
The 1 minute version. Fining are tools that you can use in winemaking that will craft or modify tannins, that can clarify, that can erase bitterness. The traditional ones, plug your ears, were blood, gelatin from pig's feet. They all were derived from cooking. Egg white, which I'm a proponent of still. We have chickens on the property, and I use those egg whites to fine our white wines, or red wines rather. The modern versions are chelated gelatins and gums, and we don't mess with any of those things at all. Those are that's not our style. But
Do you have any vegan wines?
We do. I mean, this wine would be considered vegan. It doesn't see animal products at all in any step of the production.
So because it doesn't see the egg whites in the fining process.
Or isinglass or gelatin or any of those things. Yes, correct.
Yep.
So it would qualify as vegan.
Yep. Really interesting. All right, let's move on to the 2020 Lalonis Vineyard Sauvignon Blanc. Where is the Lalonis Vineyard, by the way?
Lalonis is about 20 miles north and just east of us in an AVA called Redwood Valley, where there are a boatload of old vine, predominantly red bush vine vineyards, dry farmed. This one is incredibly unique in that this is the oldest Sauvignon Blanc grown in the country. It was planted in 1942. A typical vineyard, our rows are 6 or 8 feet apart. These rows are 14 feet apart. You could land a small plane down the middle of it. They're dry farmed. They have been farmed organically since they were planted in 42, certified organic since the 1970s. And they're still in the same family. Denise Polos, her maiden name was Lalonis. It's now drifting into the 4th generation of ownership. And we're incredibly lucky to get access to this fruit. A modern Sauvignon Blanc vineyard will yield 7 or 8 or 9 tons per acre. We get 1 ton per acre off of this. This is what I was talking about when I was saying we're lucky in this county. This is the kind of vineyard that wouldn't exist in Sonoma or Napa. It just wouldn't happen.
So what strikes me as I taste this one, Alex, is, the tasting notes that you see on screen here for sure, the brine, the wet stone, the citrus, and the clean acidity. But the complexity of this is, I mean, it's tremendous. The complexity is really impressive. Is that a product of the old vine?
100%. We're just trying to steer this into a bottle without screwing it up. And I think we succeeded. It's fermented with native yeast. There's no malolactic because the pH is so low. It's neutral oak, neutral French barrels.
So it sees a little bit of time in oak, but it's neutral, and you're really not going to detect that so much in the flavor profile and the aromatics.
The barrels, if I'll just be geeky for a minute, what the barrels allow us to do is age the wine on lees, and we do what the French call bâtonnage. We stir lees, which is a traditional Burgundian technique you use to sort of get some more gras or weight or texture into the wine, which helps to sort of soften this really striking acidity. This is pretty snappy, this wine.
It's very snappy, like a Sauvignon Blanc would be, but it's got so much complexity. By the way, just for the semi-neophytes among us, I include myself in that group. The lees are the dead yeast cells that are part of the fermentation process after fermentation has happened and sugar is turned into alcohol. And you leave them in there and you stir them into this as part of the production process.
Yeah, even though they're quote unquote dead, they're giving up some cool things. It's not they have
Oh, yeah.
something to add. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love this one. You know, I opened it. I told you this before we got on tonight. I opened it a couple days ago, and I really liked it. But as I'm the second time I'm trying it, I'm appreciating it even more because the complexity of the flavor profile and the aromatics is really there. And,
Yep.
and it just occurred to me, oh my goodness, of course, old vines.
It's all about the vineyard, and it's built to last. The 2001, which had a little dabble of Lalonis in it, first wine I made is drinking amazingly well now. When we got into 2003 and 4, those are all from Lalonis, and they're spectacular wines now. If you were to buy a couple of bottles, I would stick one under your stairs, going up to, under your kitchen stairs, and leave it for 5 years and see what you get. You'll be rewarded with something that's really, really special, and it's all about the vineyard.
A Sauv Blanc, 20-year-old Sauv Blanc.
Yeah.
That's not an everyday thing.
No, they're really neat wines.
All right, let's move on to number 3, which is the Day Ranch Pinot Noir, 2019. Tell us a little bit about how this wine is produced and the process. And
I'll speak to the place first, just really quickly. We're Hopland is inland, Mendocino County, as Sam mentioned. We can be 100 degrees during the day as a high, and also 45 or 50 degrees nighttime temperatures. We have a huge diurnal shift, but very warm for delicate grape varieties like Pinot Noir, where we are. So to make Pinot Noir, we've gone to the coast, the Anderson Valley, which is influenced by the Pacific. It's in fog for 2 months out of the 4 to 5 in the growing season, and it produces a much more delicate, nuanced Pinot Noir than you'd get in warmer climes. This vineyard is what we call, you got 2 slides commingled, but it's okay.
Yeah, for everybody watching, ignore the left-hand panel.
Perfect.
Look at the right hand. It's the Anderson Valley Pinot Noir Day Ranch is the selection.
Right. This is hand-picked like all of our fruit. We do a little bit of whole cluster fermentation, meaning we don't destem berries. We put the stems and everything into the open top fermenter. We tread it with our feet. It's native yeast fermented.
Oh, really? So you get in there like Lucille Ball.
Correcto. Yep.
Wow.
It's fun. Yep. So I said treaded. It's native fermentation. It's free range juice is drained directly to barrels. The barrels are racked 1 day prior to bottling, and it's bottled unfined and unfiltered. It never sees a pump. This wine never sees a pump.
I got to tell you, the aromatics and the bouquet of this wine are really wonderful.
The vineyard is a great site. It's on a bench looking right down the Navarro River. It's west facing, so it gets enough sun just to get to that mid 13% alcohol level. But we're really, I got to make Pinot Noir with a lot of great winemakers in this state, and I've picked up a few things from them. And I still will call every day we pick the grapes and find out what's going on. But delicate, nuanced Pinot Noir, I think it's nice.
Yeah, this is a beautiful wine. I agree with Nancy. Hey, Nancy. She says this is a wine you really want to try, and the one she's ordering tonight. So
very good.
You will not go wrong. This wine has a beautiful bouquet and a really complex flavor profile. What would one make for dinner with this one?
Something with mushrooms, something earthy, duck, anything braised, and anything that's got the subtleties like a braise, where there's been a long process, and you've got subtleties in terms of protein. If you're vegetarian, I would definitely drift into the mushroom.
Yeah.
Earthy.
Grilled portobello.
Or a tart of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Like a cherry tart.
Yeah.
Amazing. I was just last week, I made a quick trip. I had to go to Sweden for a couple days, and I had Scandinavian venison.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Killer.
And this with that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're a hunter, something you've shot with this would be quite good. And perhaps I shouldn't say that, but
Well, listen, we have to tread lightly there. But yeah, this is a great one. I'm going to put up on the screen just again so everybody sees it. Slightly higher price point. I'm assuming this is a lower case volume production.
Tiny. We're less than 200 cases. So was the Sauvignon.
Yeah.
The Sauvignon Blanc was the same, about 200 cases.
Right. And just toggling back to that, well, the Sauvignon Blanc is which I put on screen right now, is very price accessible. We didn't touch on a food pairing for that one.
So for the Sauv Blanc, I would drift into shellfish. I mean, we're famous for Dungeness crab.
Mm-hmm.
The Mendocino Dungeness crab is spectacular. So, or if you're on the East Coast, I saw there's some people from the Carolinas in the mix. So you could go shellfish from East or West Coast, but
yep,
a perfect match for it. It makes me want to go get some oysters.
These two are both complex and wonderful, and as you see here, small numbers of cases. So these are unique craft wines. All right, let's see. Let's go on to the Old Soul Red Blend. Man, the color on this one.
Not wimpy.
No. So what makes this red blend? This is the 2019 Old Soul Red Blend from Saracina Vineyards.
The soul of it is Old Vine Zin and Old Vine Carignan, Grenache, and Petit Syrah. It's kind of, you have a gentleman here from Ridge, you said earlier on.
Yeah, from Ridge Montebello. No pressure, Alex.
I got to work I worked in the Dry Creek Valley for 10 years before moving to Mendo, and one of my benchmark wines was Ridge's Geyserville, which is a field blend of Old Vine, Petit Syrah, and Carignan. And this is sort of my attempt to make a wine with that kind of pedigree with Old Vine Mendo fruit, not Old Vine Alexander Valley fruit. And so the components are definitely the sum is greater than the parts with this wine. And there is a definite intentional rusticity to it. I know that's an abused word in the lexicon, but there's meant to be some tannin in it. There's meant to be a little edginess to it. It's sort of like, I'm a sophisticated peasant. I'd like to think of myself that way. And I think this is sophisticated peasant wine.
You know what? It's let me just pull it up here quickly. Let's see, where did it go?
Good. It's my kind of red wine.
I have to get that screen. Bear with me 1 second, Alex. Yeah, I have not tried it yet. So this is going to be, it's my moment of truth on this wine. Trying it for the first time.
There's Zinfandel from the 40s. There's Carignan and Grenache that are now 78-year-old vines. There's Zinfandel from directly above the wine caves. Petit Syrah we planted about 25 years old in the property. It's never a recipe, but the core of it is Old Vine Zin, old vine head prunes stuff.
So this wine is very accessibly priced. Do you make more of it? I mean, to what do we owe the good fortune here?
If I could be blunt, I would say that the fruit that we're getting, that we purchased for this wine, would be triple the price of what you would pay in Sonoma or Napa. It's we're lucky. We're lucky, at least now, that we're just barely below the radar. So I can purchase Old Vine Zinfandel for a third of what it would cost, literally 20 miles south of here. Unfortunately, the cat's out of the bag, and people are now flooding here to purchase Old Vine fruit from the county.
Right.
So,
well, and also, what's an acre of land cost to buy in Napa versus Mendocino?
quite a bit less.
I mean, it's a fraction.
It is a fraction. You're talking about magnitudes practically. Yeah.
I just tasted this. It's terrific. And I'm curious what your thoughts are, but my first thought was steak, but I'm a relatively, only occasional red meat eater. And my second thought was like just a great, like Neapolitan wood-fired pizza margarita with, fresh buffalo mozzarella.
It's awesome pizza or pasta wine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's gotta be something that can suck up the tannins in it though. So there's got to be something with some gras or some fat on it, or it won't work. I have the luxury of getting a lot of locally made wild boar sausage, which I've been eating quite a bit of lately. And this wine with that is spectacular.
Yeah, Jan, this is amazing. I will say that. It's so approachable, Alex, but it still has the complexity of the other selections between the bouquet and the flavor characteristics.
I'll take it. Thank you.
And it just, yeah, it's also very drinkable. This doesn't feel fussy and precious. It feels like just a great wine to have with a really, really nice meal, whether you're going casual pizza. I like to make pizza at home or pasta, but I think it holds up well for something like a steak as well.
Yep. That's the idea.
What's the alcohol content of this wine?
I don't remember. I'm going to say 14.6 or 14.7. I make no apologies. I am a proponent of lower alcohols in wine generally and at a high level, but this is Zinfandel based. It's got to have some backbone. Yep.
Yeah, it's going to have some oomph.
Yep.
And so that makes sense. The thing that got me into the wine world was great Zinfandel from California. I never knew that wine could taste like that.
There you go.
So it's no shock that that this one grabbed my fancy. What tell us again? What's the percentage of the blend here? What of each grape?
Leslie just threw it up there, but I'm going to have just some poetic
Oh, there
license.
it is. Yeah. Yep.
But there's some poetic license in that, i.e., there's a little bit of old vine Carignan in the mix. There's some old vine Grenache in the mix. It's almost always predominantly Zin, so in the 40 to 45% Zin. And there's always some Petit Syrah from venerable Tellini, Alvin Tellini, who farms at Niemi. And then the rest we play with year in and year out. It's not a recipe.
Yeah, no, this one is, it just feels like a lot of fun. It feels casual, but delicious at the same time.
Yeah, peasanty in a good way.
So in terms of people who would like to get some of these wines, and Alex, and maybe Leslie can help us in the chat as well here. Are there any states that you do not ship to? For example, somebody asked if you can get these wines in Pennsylvania, if somebody orders from Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Paloma, our rock star sales associate, is digging that information up right now as we speak.
I would imagine the answer is yes.
The only no states are Kentucky, Oklahoma, and Utah. That's it.
Wow. We might have a winner, because in 100 episodes of this broadcast, I don't know that anybody's gotten 47 states.
Considering how small we are, I think that's huge. So there you go.
I think it's really impressive, because it's for anyone who knows the arcane and anachronistic structure of liquor laws and states in the United States. That is an impressive fact. Alex, I don't normally do this, but your story, somebody said San Diego. Yeah, I think so. California is a yes.
Yeah, California is not a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, San Diego is a go. So Maxime, you're all set. Alex, what's your favorite grape variety and why?
I think it's more I'd like to take poetic license to say a vineyard. I love the old vines we have in this county. So I'll say Lalonis, because there's such an amazing history to it, and thus Sauvignon Blanc. Mm-hmm. But I never end a meal without a glass of red wine, no matter what I'm eating. So there's a qualifier.
Let's see, we might have a couple more questions. Alex, how many cases do you produce annually?
We're at just less than 8,000 small production.
8,000, yeah. So So for example, where I'm based out in the North Fork in the Long Island wine country, you know, that's a medium, small to medium. There's all the wineries out here are very, very small, but that's impressively focused.
We're in the boutique range by Californian standards. Yeah.
Yep. Mr. Bruce says hello to Paloma, so pass that message along, please.
I will.
Any sparkling rosé?
No sparkling yet. We're thinking about it. Mark Taub and his company have a import and have one of their best relationships with Ferrari, one of the greatest Italian method champenoise. So we drink a lot of Ferrari here, and often poured at events. We just had a caviar pairing for our wine club members and poured Ferrari as the opener. So as long as that relationship lasts, we'll probably just keep drinking great method champenoise from Alto Adige instead of us trying to bumble around here making fat sparkling wine in California. Shouldn't have said that, sorry.
Alex, I expect an invitation to the next caviar and sparkling tasting.
You're invited, dude. Come on over, no problem.
The question from Alicia, are these wines available retail in California?
Yes, but just kicking off. As I said, we just signed on with a new distributor, Regal, and it's a brand new day. We're allowed to get out there without masks and show our wines and go to retail stores. So it's very brand new. The best way to get the wines right now is from the winery, especially the smaller offerings like the Pinot Noir and the Sauvignon Blanc. They probably won't get into broad market or into retail shelves. The quantities are too small.
One more question. Alicia asks, what AVA is the winery itself located in?
We're in just Mendocino County.
Mendocino County AVA.
Yep.
Well, Alex, one more thing, and I was about to ask this earlier. I don't always ask this kind of thing, but how does a guy from Toronto, or you're from Toronto or Montreal?
Toronto, and then I went to university in Montreal at McGill. Yeah.
How does a guy from the eastern side of Canada end up in Mendocino County making amazing California wines?
Business degree. What do you do with that? You get a job as a bartender, right, in a restaurant, and that turned into wine. Then wine buying. Did some importing, became a certified sommelier, and finally got tired of the sex and drugs and rock and roll in the wine industry, on the restaurant side of it, and moved to California, Australia, New Zealand, France, Portugal, and then studied and ended up in Sonoma County 30 years ago.
Wow.
No regrets.
I love your story, and I love the fact that being a New Yorker and I'm a hockey fan and you're from Toronto and you're a hockey fan. We're birds of a feather. Mark asks a very, very pertinent question, which is, what is the promo code? Let me get that to you, Mark. It's Crush Wine XP21. I'm going to put it right now in the chat. Apologies for everyone watching. If you use that wine on the Saracina website, you can put in Crush Wine XP21, and there's the website as well. Leslie is there to help. Leslie, put your there. Perfect. You read my mind. She put her email into the chat.
Montreal wine country. Nice. Where is that? That's awesome. Doesn't exist. One thing Leslie did just say, which was come visit, and I love nothing more than entertaining people when they come out of the property. So come and visit. It's not as grower or as hillbilly as you think it is. We're a hop, skip, and a jump from Hillsburg. Come visit.
Are you guys showing your wines and exhibiting at the Zinfandel Experience, or also known as Zinex, in late March?
Yes, we are.
All right. So if anybody who's watching it wants to make their way to California at the end of March, make your way to the Zinfandel Experience. If you're a wine enthusiast, it is a religious experience, and you'll get to meet Alex while you're there.
If you're a Zin enthusiast, it's a legendary experience.
No, I think if you're a wine enthusiast, I got to tell you that is it is like the Super Bowl of red wine, I think, in the United States, at least.
I love making Zinfandel more than any grape variety out there, without a doubt.
Yep.
Someone-
And
Yep.
Leslie is right. Check out ZAP, the Zinfandel Advocates and Producers, an amazing organization out of California that promotes so many great wineries, Saracina, Ridge, Ravenswood, you name it. So anyway, thank you so much, Alex. It's great hanging out with you. I can't wait to go to a Rangers versus Maple Leafs game with you at some point. You're buying the beers.
The $18 beers in Toronto, probably, or whatever they are.
And thank you to Leslie and Maura, your colleagues at Saracina. They're awesome. And everybody who tuned in. It's great to see you, and we will see you again soon. We're doing a double header. Our next virtual tasting is a couple weeks away. It is March 9th, and we're doing a Long Island winery and a Massachusetts Berkshire's up in the Berkshire foothills winery in one sitting with the winemaker who makes the wine at both. So tune in March 9th, Crush Wine XP, and we will see you guys soon. Stay safe out there. All right, Alex.
Thank you.
Well. Thank you. Take care now.
Take it easy.